Hey everybody, welcome back to Faraday Research. And tonight I'm doing the second video for the night and will be the last video for the night because it's getting a little late here. So anyways, I got on the bench here, the John Smith generator, and I've been working on different circuits. I was working on a couple of experiments. I'm still kind of figuring that out. What I'm trying to do is link two toroid or two transformer cores and link them in together to get more power. So what I had to do with this one core, usually it's 1/4 the wavelength, so this one's 20 winds and then it would be 5. So what I did was I made it 10, so it's half the wavelength of this. Now it actually helped out quite a bit in the power output, so I got good performance again out of this. Now I'm starting to figure out with these transformers. I did some research online. So what happens with a transformer, this pretty much goes for all transformers, depending on their amount of winds that are involved. So if this is your primary, you got less windings, and I use thick wire, and I'll explain why with the thick wire in a second. So basically it's going to step up the voltage, all right? And what's going to happen by nature is say you're putting in 100 volts at 10 amps here, okay? It'll come out, say, 200 volts at 5 amps. So when it goes from the primary to the secondary, you lose half your amperage. Now, if I were to step it down, say I'm putting 200 volts here, it would go from 200 to 100 volts. And if it was 10 amps here, it would be 20 amps. It doubles. So you would decrease your amperage going in this direction. If you're going in this direction, you would double it. So this transformer here, you can use in both directions, either as a step up or as a step down. So I'll go over that again. 200 volts, you would get 100 volts. If you had 10 amps here, you would have 20 amps here. It doubles when you go down, but you lose half your voltage. So you go up half in voltage and you go down in, you go down by half in voltage, but you increase by half in amperage, right? So you're losing one, but you're gaining the other. The same way here. If I'm putting in 200 volts here, I would get 400 volts here. If I got 5 amps here, I would, if I got 10 amps here, it would be 5 amps here. You see what I'm saying? So that pretty much goes with most transformers. Now you can have multiple windings, and some transformers, they have 4 or 5 different variations of how you can hook it up. You get into single phase, and then you get into 3 phase, and then you can get a 4 phase, and it gets crazy. So they can get quite complicated, these transformers. So going back to this guy here, I didn't do any modifications to the core as it is, but one thing I did find, something very interesting that I totally overlooked, and I'm pretty sure it's one of Don Smith's secrets that he never told anybody. When you're coming off the high voltage discharge, okay, if you got a tiny skinny wire like this, you can't get amperage through it. You can't get current to flow. You need a large wire like this. Okay, this is a 16 gauge speaker wire. It's double the thickness of this guy. So now the high voltage potential coming off the high voltage discharge, I'm going to get way better current flow now that I've got bigger wires. Not only that, it's going to draw less amperage off my power supply. And I'll show you that in a second. And also, I increased the size of my master ground wire to the same thickness, because amps do get drawn from ground. So if you don't have a thick wire for a ground, good luck getting any current into your system. Now, from the last video, I was running at about 10 to 10 and a half volts, and I was always drawing at least an amp or better. Well, now I'm going to turn it on, 700 milliamps, and the thing's fully lit. Like, I'll even show how bright it is. And she's generating heat. I can feel it. So I'm getting way more amperage. Way more amperage going through it. So the thickness of the wire coming off your high voltage discharge, it should be big, thick wire. That's really going to help you out. Look, it's 800. I can even go a little lower. Let's go down to, say, 10, right on 5.2. Now I'm only drawing 790 milliamps. I still got full power. That's 25 watts. So I'm putting in about 9 watts, 8 watts in there, and I'm powering 25 watts. So there you go. I got a huge jump in power factor. So definitely wiring, I'm starting to find out, is becoming more and more critical in this Don Smith generator. And I don't think Don Smith really touches base a lot on this in his literature, from what I can tell. He doesn't really touch on wiring. And wirings, especially off the high voltage discharge, you gotta have a thick ass wire there. Because if you don't got good current flow through that wire, how do you expect anything else to run? Right? Just makes sense. So it's helped out big time. Now I'm getting great performance out of this core. Even this one, the small one too, is getting me almost the same kind of performance. So if I wanted to really step it up from here, I've got 32 windings here. I could go to 64, and this one here is 8. I would go to 16, and it would bump it up even higher. I might even be able to run maybe a 40 watt bulb after that. So yeah, it's starting to come together now. Like this thing is really starting to actually do something now. I'm getting the power, I'm getting the amperage, and the current's definitely there. Because if I didn't have the current, this bulb would not be heating up. And that's why I like to use the incandescent bulb, is because that's showing me that I'm heating up an element. There's an element inside there that heats up, and that takes current and voltage. So yeah, I think this was definitely a victory tonight, getting this done. So it does work too. So with this core, originally I had 5 and 20. Now I kept to 20, but I went to 10, so I'm half the wavelength. And Don Smith talks about that. It's either a quarter or half the wavelength, equal and opposite division of. So as long as you stay within those parameters, this will run in resonance. If it doesn't run in resonance, you'll know, because it'll start drawing a lot of amperage off your source, and you will not get the potential coming out of your light. It will be very obvious when you see that. So I know this is running in resonance. Also, spark gap, you have to play with that. I've kept it it's about a millimeter. I could actually go a little bit thinner, closer together, but what's going to happen is going to draw more amps. So I got it in a position right now where she's running pretty damn good. I'm drawing very little off my prime mover, and I'm getting full light. Like, it's there. And it's generating heat. I can feel it. If I kept my hand there for a little bit, it'll probably get so hot I couldn't even touch it. So yeah, it's really exciting. Don Smith is a real deal, but like I said, if you want to scale this up and make it run a house, you have to buy a lot more components. Like, you need step-up transformer, then a step-down 120 volts, then you have to put it through an RF choke, then you got to adjust the frequency. So there's still a ton of things I could add to this to make it worthy of running a house. And the first thing would be, I would have to get this thing running at 60 hertz. When I get it running at 60 hertz and the proper voltage, then I can run anything. But, this is still a demonstrator model to kind of prove the concept of what Don Smith was working at was real. So, yeah, anyways, if you haven't become a member, bottom right-hand corner, give me a thumbs up if you like the video, and any input that you have for me, questions, whatever, concerns, give it to me below there. I know the audio might be a little bit screwed up, but I want to show you the wiring is big. The wiring's a big issue. Get thicker ground wire. Go to a Lee's to 16 gauge. You could even go 15 gauge. That's okay. Thicker the better. Even coming off the high voltage discharge, the spark gap, you should have a thick wire. Because if you don't have a thick wire, you're not utilizing the full potential of your high voltage discharge. And that's important. And yeah, I've made it simple. Look, it's very, very easy. It's not a million wires anymore like it used to be, a bundle of wires. I've simplified everything, shortened all the wires down, and now I'm getting great performance. So, yeah, definitely I'm in the right direction, and it's only going to get better from here. So anyways, everybody have a good night. Cheers. Have a great night.